my October reading wrap up, and I can't believe we're at the end of October. I know we say that every month, but wow, I can't believe that we're in November. It's insane. So I did quite well this month reading wise. I was quite impressed. I read 6 books, which is the best I've done for a little while, I think. And I'm really happy with what I got read. For the most part, I enjoyed everything that I read. So yeah, I will crack on with it. The first book that I read was A Midnight Angel by Lisa Kleypas. And this is the first book in her Stockhurst, I think it's a duology, and it's another Regency romance type novel. I picked this one up because I'd literally just read Because You're Mine by her and absolutely loved it, so wanted to read sort of another Regency romance by her. This one I didn't enjoy quite as much, but it was still quite a good story, quite a different plot to something that I'd read before. It's about a girl, and oh my god, I can't remember her name, but she's actually quite wealthy. She's from Russia, and her family, you know, has riches beyond belief, but she's accused of a murder, and so she flees Russia and tries to hide in obscurity by becoming a governess, and falls in love with her employer. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't quite as good as Before You're Mine. Because You're Mine even. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5. The next book that I read was My Fair Princess by Vanessa Kelly. And this is the first book in the Improper Princesses series. It was quite a fun book. It's about, oh my god, I can't remember any of their names, but it's about this sort of fairly young woman who has been raised in Italy, and she avenges her father's death by killing bandits, but in the process she's injured, so she has to flee, and she ends up in very proper Regency London, and she's not at all a very proper lady. You know, she wants to go around wearing trousers, shooting guns, and conversationally she puts her foot in things. So they try to get a gentleman who is known for being proper. I think they call him Proper Percy or something like that. Like, his nickname is the fact that he's so proper and he's this perfect lord, and he tries to teach her how she can actually blend into society and maybe make a good marriage for herself, and obviously things go from there. It was quite enjoyable. I gave it 4 out of 5. I would definitely consider reading more books by Vanessa Kelly. I actually haven't read anything else by her, so that was quite fun. The next book that I read was Night of Cake and Puppets by Laini Taylor. This is a novella that's sort of number 2.5 in the Daughter of Smoke and Bones series, which, as you guys know, is like one of my favourites. I absolutely love it. And this actually came out in ebook quite a while ago, but I never got around to reading it. So when it was published in hardback, I had to get it because it has such beautiful illustrations in here as well. It's a very quick read. I literally read it in one day. It was absolutely beautiful. Everything about Laini Taylor's writing is just stunning. It's very lyrical. It's just very, like, you can see it in your head. It's just absolutely beautiful. And this is about Caru's best friend Susanna, and she has a crush on a boy called Mick who plays the violin. And it's when she finally gets up enough courage to try and get him to go out with her, and she plans this magical evening to get his attention, and it's just absolutely stunning. If you're a fan of Daughter of Smoke and Bone, you absolutely have to read this. I wouldn't recommend picking it up until you have read at least the first 2 books in Daughter of Smoke and Bone, because there's a lot of references to it and stuff. Not overpowering, but you just won't really understand. I don't think you'll get the full benefit of it unless you've read those books. The next book that I read was Etched in Bone by Anne Bishop, and this, I want to say this is book 5 in the Others series. How terrible is that? One of my favourite series, and I can't tell you off the top of my head what number it is. It is book 5. This came out in March. I'm very surprised that I didn't read this sooner, because this series is one of my absolute favourites. But I don't know, something just made me keep pushing it back. I actually had a week off in October, had a week's annual leave, so that's when I picked this up, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just love this series. It's such an odd one. It's very different to anything else that I've read. I'm so glad in this, because I've been pushing for two certain characters to sort of push into the romance area, and it's been happening, but very slowly. And even in this one, even though what I want to happen kind of happens, it's not the focal point of the story, but you want it to be, kind of. But the way, I think that this is sort of the last book in this series about these characters. There is going to be a book 6, but from the synopsis of it, it sounds like it's going to have different people in it and set in a different location. So I think this is going to be the last one with these characters, which is such a shame, because I love Meg and Simon and Sam and Vlad and Merryweather and just all of these characters. But it's absolutely stunning, and if you have not read this series, guys, I cannot recommend this series enough. Like, I don't see a lot of it on BookTube, but it absolutely should be. It's just such a different series. It's definitely original, and I love it so much. Highly recommend. 5 out of 5 stars. I forgot to mention Night of Cake and Puppets, 100% 5 out of 5 stars. No doubt about it. The next book that I read was also on my Kindle, and it was The Highlander's Princess Bride by Vanessa Kelly. This was number 3 in the Improper Princesses series, and I got this through NetGalley, so that's why I've skipped. I haven't read number 2, but I really enjoyed this one. This is about a young woman called Victoria, and she's actually the bastard daughter of the Prince Regent, but she doesn't have a very glamorous life. She's actually become a governess, but in her last job, a family member actually tried to inappropriately crack onto her, basically, and she accidentally pushed him down the stairs and he died. So she's gone into hiding, or she's tried to avoid the scandal by becoming a governess to a family in Scotland, but they actually aren't young children and they aren't young girls. This lord wants her to basically teach his complete reprobate brothers how to behave in society instead of mucking around and getting themselves into trouble, and a romance brews between them. It was really fun. The antics of some of the brothers and the grandfather were hilarious. They've got a real thing against the English. They keep calling her a Sassenach, and the antics that they do to try and get rid of her, but in the end she wins them round and they end up really liking her, and it was just a fun read. I say I'd give that again about 4 out of 5, because it was a fun read and quite a quick one. I think I read it in just a couple of days. And then the last book that I'm very surprised that I got to this month, but I am glad that I did. I thought I was going to keep putting it off, but I actually managed to read it the month it came out, so that's a miracle. And that's Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Now I think I am going to do a separate review on this one, to try and sort of get my thoughts in order about it. I think it's going to be quite a difficult one, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet about this one, half good, half not so good, so it's very difficult with this one. I think it was always going to be a difficult book, because obviously his last book, The Fault in Our Stars, was just so phenomenal that it's going to be hard to live up to the hype of that, and it was different. I personally enjoyed it. I didn't find it faultless by any means, but I did really enjoy it, and I actually read it fairly quickly for me, and yeah, I gave it 4 out of 5, so I will do a separate review on this one. So yeah, that's everything that I read in October, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, or if any of these books are on your TBR. Also, let me know what your favourite book that you read in October was. It's quite difficult for me because I quite enjoyed all of these books, but I would probably say it was a toss-up between Night of Cake and Puppets and Etched in Bone. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Happy reading.